So in this video we're going to look at how we update the lights, move them around, add a new light. So on here you can see that I've got the existing lights. These are the various ones which go from the tail to the wings. As you can see, underneath each of those there is an actual light using a sprite renderer, and then there's a light with a strobe on it. There you go, and the same on the other side, and then we've got the tail lights and the top and bottom lights. This won't include the formation lights, we'll do that in a separate video because those work differently. It's okay. So now what we're going to do is if we look above, and we select the right forward light there, all we're going to do is move it around until it aligns with the edges correctly. So move that one over there, like this, do it in front of the actual light mesh. You can see it's slightly down there, so I'm going to move it up a little bit, forward a little bit, so it's in front of it. You can see I've actually highlighted both the green strobe light and the forward light to move them together. So highlight them both and move them to be in the same place. Now just highlight the left ones, move those correctly. Obviously using the global lights here, or the global axis, sorry. So move them around until they're in line. There we go. That's good. So remember we talked about global last time. So those two lights are in the correct place. Now what we can see is we've actually got up above there the one that goes on the tail. So that's going to need to be moved at some point. So let's go with the top one first. So this is the one that goes on top of the aircraft. We'll line it up so we can see where it's going. Make sure it's in the right spot. So yeah, move this one around. And then go to the bottom one. There we go. And actually you can see that that light's slightly off, actually, it's the little flare. So what I'm going to do is take that and move that to be in the same position. I'll just move it over here so it's roughly in the right position. Move it up slightly. And now if we switch between the two, we should see there's not much difference. You can see as I move it up and down, there's like a little flare in there. So that should be okay now, I think. Yep, that's good. Okay, so we've done those two. So now we're going to go and look at the tail light. Now, what we know here is actually on the Mirage we only had one tail light. Now we're going to need two. So first off, what we'll do is we'll take the first one, click away, go back to it. So we'll move around the first one and then we'll duplicate it. So bring it side on. We'll move it into position. See, it's slightly up. So move it across to here. Bring that across. That's where it is. There we go, side on. We should get a view of roughly if it's right or not. Up and down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. So it looks okay. So now what we're going to have to do is duplicate it. So I'll click on it and do a duplicate. Okay, so it's now got a new name, taillight 1. I'll just move that across. But it's not quite as easy as that because lights are actually linked into switches and stuff, so we're going to have to play with that as well. So there we go, two different lights. Great. So now what I'm going to do is click on the maintainer and find selected object in reference in the scene. This will tell us where anything is linked to off that light. And you can see there it says it's linked. So that's the tail strobe light. And it's linked into the dash panel with the strobe light panel switch. So if I click on the little button in a second, it takes me to all those strobe lights. And you can see here there's actually three set up. the top, the bottom and the tail. So what I'm going to do is add one into there. So click on plus to add a new element. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select that now. If we go to where find where it is, you can see that's tail strobe light. Highlights it there. So what I'm going to do is click on this and I'll drag it across into the element 3 element. You can see it's got the name there. So that's good. Okay, so that's that one fixed. However, that doesn't fix everything, so what we're going to have to do is clear that. And if we go into the element underneath it, so you can see if we click on this one, which is the one underneath, which is the sprite renderer piece in this guy, the one that does that bit, we do the maintain and find objects again. It gives us two different places that this is highlighted. One is in the top power and one is in the rear nav power. Now actually there should only be one of those as it goes, but we'll just do one for this one, but it shouldn't actually be in two places. Looks like I at some point we made a mistake. So we click on that, it will take us to the top power bit, and you can see here that there's an object power unit, and this is how objects are controlled in terms of power. So what we'll do is we'll choose one of these, which is the rear nav power. You can see under there the nav light switch rear nav power. And that's how this is powered. These then link to the switches in order to turn them on. So what we're going to do is add a component here. So we think about that. Yeah. So we've got the two choices: rear nav power or top power. I think we're going to use top power as it goes. Not that it makes much difference. And what we're going to do is add an object power unit. Object power unit, there we go. That adds us another object power unit to this power up. So then close this off, the maintainer screen off. Click on here, choose the only battery we've got a choice of. And then what we'll do then is if I click on this, it'll just give us a list of all the lists, so that's no good to us. So what I'll do is we need to click on here to find where all the lights are. But first we're going to lock this. So at the top right, if you lock it, it means in that panel it keeps it locked and doesn't change when you move things around. So here, I'm now going to drag over the other tail light rear. Now what would actually be useful is if this was renamed, so I knew that there was two different ones in place actually. So I'm just going to rename this into left, the left hand side one. So now it should be more obvious in a second that there are two object power units powering different lights. There we go. Now I could rename the other one to right, arguably, to make it easy to understand in the future, but I'm probably just going to leave that there for now. So okay, so we have a power unit that's got two object power units on, and that should be all good. Unlock it, so we can now see things in the inspector panel again. We do a maintainer, select object maintainer here. See, this is linked. There's the power units. They are linked to the switch. We click on there, and here you can see all the various things that are powered by that switch. And that top power one is there, and it does object power unit and sets it. So what we're going to need to do is add a new one to link to that other unit we've just created. So lock it in place. And I'm going to add a new tab for the inspector so we can see the other power unit. So these are currently the same in these two things, but because one's locked and one isn't, as soon as I now move on to something else, the right hand screen will stay locked to the switch, but the left hand inspector panel will allow me to see other things. So you can see that's the rear nav power one. If I go to top power, I've just added one. See how it changes? We go to the top power one, I've just added that one there. So this is the full list of all the ones that are powered by that by that particular knob. So if I go to there, click on top power and slide across the one that we've just created, then click on object power unit. It doesn't actually matter which way you use them in this particular case. You could use object power unit 1 or object power unit. It doesn't really make any difference. They're the same script in theory. So as long as it knows about it, it should be fine. But anyway, there you go. Object power unit set connection. And now what we have is every time we turn that on, it'll also turn on that particular object power unit. So all we've done really is add another object power unit to the switch. And that when you turn it, it sets the connection state. Now if we unlock it, we can go back to using it as normal. We should have a light that's working. So we'll go and test that in game in a second. Okay, you can see the lights are there. So we'll stop that. And we'll boot into the game. Oh, 1 second actually, good point. What first we'll do is we'll put the prefab back in. And we'll export that via the window asset bundle browser. Do a quick build for the F15S cell. Build it. Shouldn't take too long when we're doing this. Then we'll copy that into game. Okay, so we'll go to here. What we'll do is we'll go to the actual place it's done the asset bundle to. Hope to get the right thing. So VTOL VR mod F15. Collect the asset bundle. It's easy to find. So as you can see, we created a new one there. Go. Okay, copy that, and I will paste this into the actual mod. Paste it into the mod folder, paste. Go into the game. So we can see it easier. Oop. Click start. Oh. Getting some slight VR things. So okay, so loaded that in, select pilot, select the 15S stars, quick flight because it's easier. Carry landing. Okay, there we go. There we go. So that's all right. Set it to night so we can actually see the lights properly. There we go. We're loaded in. Okay, look behind us. We've got no lights on at the moment, which is cool, which I'd expect. So all we need to now do is find where the lights are. That's the strobe lights, that's the nav lights. Look behind us. Hopefully what we should see, yes. We should see, reset the seat. So you can actually see what I'm doing. We get some glitching, probably because of the way my VR set up in the stationary seat. So anyway, turn them on. Look behind us. Oh, there we go. We've now got 2 new lights working. So what we've done there, remember, is we've set them up, duplicated them, added them onto the object, added object power units to power them, and then added those to the actual switch. And this is why adding new things and modding things into VTOL VR is actually quite complex, because there's so many things that connect together. However, that little script that I've included, the modifier script that allows you to find things that link together, makes it much easier, because you can work out what's currently linked to things and just copy that same setup. There we go. Great. All perfectly working as it should be. Okay, next time we'll look at the formation lights, the glowing formation lights, which have their own special setup. At the moment they're just on all the time, but we'll make sure that we change that so that they're not just on all the time in the future. Okie doke, there we go. That's really the end of that video, so see you in the next part.